Obviously, don't forget to keep checking out the links down in the description because those are still things that are happening. Those are still communities that need our help. But if anybody can help me find a comprehensive link to help out any citizens of Ukraine, that would be incredibly helpful. I have tried to look them up myself. I can't find one comprehensive link, and while I don't mind listing quite a few, one like all in one spot is really helpful for me personally, and I feel like it would be helpful for other people. If not, I will be continuing to retweet, reblog anything and everything I can to help those people and to help them flee the horrible things that are happening to them in their home. So yeah, if you can help me find that link, I would very much appreciate it, but don't forget to keep checking out the other links in the description as well. Hello Friendsies, welcome back to my channel. I just realized that I'm wearing a very dark color for the beginning of March when the last couple videos have been pastel. Anyway, hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. So lately, I have been reading again. I've talked about this in a couple other videos, that reading like physical books is like really fucking hard. I can read a fan fiction that's like 50, 60,000 words, but for some reason reading physical books is difficult. But I still go to Barnes & Noble and spend money on pretty books because of how they look. But for my birthday this year, I went to Barnes & Noble. I gave myself $100 and I had a $50 gift card from my brother, and I bought a bunch of books, and I mostly bought graphic novels because I really love graphic novels. When I was younger, I read so much manga. I don't remember reading graphic novels specifically though, so I bought a bunch for my birthday and I want to talk about some of them. I have a couple recs over here on the pile and I want to share them with you, and hopefully you guys will also enjoy them if these are books that you are into. If you're into graphic novels, if any of these sound good, I hope you would enjoy them. If I'm behind on these, if you're a booktuber and you're like, those have been out for a while and I already read them, I'm sorry. I'm not up to date with BookTube, okay? I follow one person that is a booktuber. Hold on, let me see if I can find their name. Give me one sec. So I follow one booktuber and it's Peruse Project on YouTube. I don't know if I've said this before. I think I might have said this in a video before. Did you guys know that when I started my YouTube channel, I wanted to be a booktuber? I was specifically going to be a booktuber, and now it's just kind of whatever shit comes out of my mouth is what my videos are. But anyway, I want to show you guys the graphic novels that I have bought and have read since January. I actually just finished one. The day this video goes up, I finished one last night because I was lagging a little bit because I've been trying to read my graphic novels and rewatch Sailor Moon and go to work and do other things. Anyway, let me get into the books. The first book I have is The OK Witch by Emma Steinkeller? I hope Kellner. Emma Steinkeller. Magic is harder than it looks. 13-year-old Moth Hush, love that name by the way, loves all things witchy, but she's about to discover that witches aren't just the stuff of movies, books, and spooky stories. When some bullies try to ruin her Halloween, something really strange happens. Founders Bluff, Massachusetts, has a centuries-old history of witch drama and surprise. Moth's family is at the center of it all. When Moth's new powers show up, things get totally out of control. She meets a talking cat, falls into an enchanted diary, and unlocks a hidden witch world. Secrets surface from generations past as Moth unravels the complicated legacy at heart of her town, her family, and herself. In the spellbinding graphic novel debut, Emma Steinkeller spins a story with humor and heart about the weird and wonderful adventures of a witch in progress. And this was $12.99 at Barnes & Noble. So this book I saw on a shelf. I am very much like a person that like judge a book by its cover in the literal sense of books. I saw this on the shelf when I was looking at some other books because I really love, I don't know what they're like necessarily called, like the correct way that you would like put them on a shelf on a like in a library in a bookstore, but I really love like in the kids section, the like chapter book side, not the like early reader chapter books, but like the actual like thick chapter books, but they're like marketed for like younger kids. They're not in YA, they're in the kids section. I really love those kind of books. I have quite a few actually that I've read and enjoy because a lot of my like interest in storytelling falls into kind of like specific types of YA, but it's mostly found in the kids section. So I found this there, saw this on the shelf. It was one of the times where the book is like sticking out and not like this. And this looked absolutely adorable because I love like young kid supernatural elements. A lot of like different TV shows and stuff when I was younger kind of focused on this, so I'm obsessed with younger audience type of magic, and this just looked really good. And it was a great graphic novel. Like honestly, 10 out of 10, you should definitely read it. Moth Hush is just like the coolest fucking name in the world. And also the point of Founder's Bluff, Massachusetts. I am from New England, and New England is very much known, you know, Salem witch trials and like all the things like that. Like if you live in New England, have you been to Salem? And if you haven't been to Salem, how the fuck do you even live here? You know what I mean? Oh, there was a school in Salem that I almost applied to when I was in high school, but it was a specific art school and I didn't have a portfolio. So anyway, very, very good book. Absolutely incredible. And I like, there was an element of it that like maybe I'm reading too much into it as a white woman, but if not, and I'm like correct when I say this, then hey, it's a bonus. Moth Hush is a woman of color, and so is her mother. Not only is an element of supernatural and finding out that Moth, you know, herself has magical powers, it's a heavy element of like the fact that her family are women of color, and there is that history of not being white women in this town, where the town, just like most towns in this country, but especially in New England, was very much founded by white men that came and colonized things. So I think that's really cool that it ties the two of them in. And I think that's really cool representation for young kids, because I feel like, I mean, I don't feel like, I know young kids of color are judged very harshly and basically told to grow up immediately. And they don't really get a chance to be little kids, and they especially don't get a chance to be weird little kids. Like, I was a weird girl growing up. I was obsessed. When all the other little girls wanted to play princesses and shit, I wanted to play vampires and monsters. Young kids of color do not get to be weird like that. They don't get to, like, pretend to be vampires. They don't get to, like, do the cringy shit that, like, young white kids get to do. So this is extra cool, because that's just it. Moth is, like, a weird girl. And she's a person of color. So that's really cool. How many times did I go, that's really cool? Like, do you know can you see that I don't know how to review things? The next book is probably my favorite in this, like, rec list. It's Garlic in the Vampire by Brie Paulson. Garlic feels as though she's always doing the wrong thing. No matter how much her friend Carrot and kindly witch Agnes encourage her, Garlic just wants to tend to her own garden where it's nice and safe. But when the village of vegetable people learns about a bloodthirsty vampire that may have moved into the nearby castle, they all agree that despite her fear and self-doubt, Garlic is the obvious choice to confront him. And with everyone counting on her, Garlic reluctantly agrees to face the mysterious vampire. With humor, heart, and an unusual heroine with more courage than she realizes, Brie Paulson's debut graphic novel is a farm-fresh tale that reminds readers to believe in themselves and that strangers are not always as scary as they might seem. And this is another one that is US $12.99. Again, this is one of the times I went into the kids section. The book was out like this instead of sideways, so it very much was advertising the cover. I fell in love with the cover. And when I took it and was ringing it up at the register, the cashier that was there, she was like a lovely, lovely person, was like, oh my god, you're going to love this. And I don't know if maybe it was like my vibe or just the fact that she was very excited about the book. I was like, oh really? And she went on the entire time she rung me up, and there was like a line behind me, and she made the people wait so she could talk to me about this book. So it came highly recommended. I just got it because I thought it was cute. It came highly recommended. And this book has amazing anxiety rep. Poor Garlic is so anxious about everything all the time. Carrot is the fucking MVP, and Agnes is a very sweet little old lady. Also, what's his name? And Celery. I have some opinions about Celery, but yeah, all the characters are cute little foods, and I fucking love this book. I don't want to give anything too much away, but like, look at little Garlic with her steak and the spooky castle in the back. Such good anxiety rep. I relate to Garlic very hard in this book with different elements of like not wanting to do it at all because that's fucking scary and terrifying, but then going out and doing the damn thing and having it turn out better than you expect. I just adore it. Garlic is my little... Can you imagine a little cosplay of her? I might have to cosplay Garlic. Oh my god, I might have to cosplay Garlic. You know I couldn't do this list without some gay shit, so next I have The Girl from the Sea by Molly Knox Ostag? I don't know how to pronounce that correctly. This is actually, I believe, the partner of Noelle Stevenson. Am I wrong? I believe that's who this is. But yeah, The Girl from the Sea. One summer can change everything. 15-year-old Morgan has a secret. She can't wait to escape the perfect little island where she lived. She's desperate to finish high school and get as far away from possible from her sad divorced mom, her volatile little brother, and her group of best friends, who don't actually know Morgan at all. Because really, Morgan's biggest secret is that she has a lot of secrets, including the one about wanting to kiss girls. Then one night, Morgan is saved from drowning by a mysterious girl named Kelty. Suddenly, life on this island doesn't feel so stifling anymore. But Kelsey has some secrets of her own, and as the girls start to fall in love, everything they've been hiding will find its way to the surface, whether Morgan is ready or not. And this book was $14.99 in the US. This is some gay shit. This is anything gay and anything about like young teens discovering who they are, I immediately eat up, because I have talked about this in a couple videos before, but my way of coming out was, I'm not complaining at all, but it's very different than what a lot of people experience. I was very easily accepted by my family. My mother is an incredible woman. My family, I have 2 older brothers, so if anything, it was just jokes about how we're all gonna go pick up chicks together. Like, I was very easily accepted. Where I live, thankfully, and the people around me are very accepting. And if they're not, it's not targeted specifically at bisexual people. It's targeted at other types of LGBTQIA plus people. So, which is not great, but you know what I mean? Like, I'm not under direct attack, especially because I am a cis woman. So, anything of young teens that are struggling, not in the way of like, obviously in horrible danger struggling, but discovering who they are and not knowing whether or not they're going to be accepted, I do kind of eat up, because it's the side of being a queer person that I didn't get to experience. And I wonder if other people like kind of see it the same way. And I'm not saying I didn't get to experience it and like, damn, I wish like I was ostracized and da-da-da, but it's a more common thing than what I experienced, unfortunately. So I do find it really interesting to see how different families and different stories handle the situation. Also, these girls are the cutest things in the world. They have such a lovely summer together. And this book is actually very similar to another book I have in the sense of like their relationship and how they kind of have their relationship in secret. And I really eat up shit like this too, because have you noticed, I think it's on purpose, I don't have enough like media literacy knowledge to say this confidently. I'm gonna say it with my whole chest anyway. But have you noticed that a lot of supernatural elements and a lot of elements of queerness are linked together? Like magic and supernatural and queerness are usually all together in one package. That's the shit I love. So this book, very, very good. The next one I have is like the least supernatural one, I think, out of all of these. Now there's 2 that are very unsupernatural, but this one is actually an illustrated memoir. So it's actually really cool, and I ended up liking it more than I thought I would. It's Almost American Girl by Robin Ha. I don't know if I pronounced that last name correctly. Please correct me if I'm wrong. For as long as she can remember, it's been Robin and her mom against the world. Growing up as the only child of a single mother in Seoul, Korea, it wasn't always easy, but it has bonded them fiercely together. So when a vacation to visit friends in Huntsville, Alabama unexpectedly becomes a permanent relocation following her mother's announcement that she's getting married, Robin is devastated. Overnight, her life changes. She dropped into a new school where she doesn't understand the language and struggles to keep up. She is completely cut off from her friends in Seoul and has no access to her beloved comics. At home, she doesn't fit in with her new stepfamily, and worst of all, she is furious with the one person she is closest to, her mother. Then one day, Robin's mother enrolls her in local comic drawing class, which opens a window to a future Robin could have never imagined. This book was incredible. Because out of all these books with its supernatural elements and elements of being LGBTQIA+, all of them I could relate to in some way, shape, or form, or there was something about it that I could kind of see myself in. This being an illustrated memoir by a Korean American person, I couldn't see myself in it at all. Obviously, I mean, look at me, I am a white woman. But I think that was good, that I couldn't see myself in it at all. And I think it was good that there were parts of the book that kind of made me uncomfortable, because that, as a white woman, is like what should happen when you realize certain things that happen to people of color. You need to be uncomfortable, that way you can help be an ally. This book was incredible, though, because it was not something I could relate to, but there were so many elements of the book that I was like, holy shit, like I know exactly what is happening. Does that make sense? I couldn't relate to it, obviously, because I'm not an Asian American. I'm not a Asian person. I'm not a Korean person. But the whole idea of, like, being ostracized, I guess, is how I should say it. Very much, like, outside looking in from a different standpoint, from different areas of, like, not fitting in 100%. It doesn't feel similar at all, obviously, because, like I said, this is a completely different way of being dissimilar and being on the outside looking in than what I'm talking about. but it almost makes you think you can relate, even though you are very well aware that you can't. And I think that's good, and I think that's important. I don't know if any of that made sense, but I think it is a good thing that I saw this and was like, oh, that kind of makes sense to me, but at the same time, it's nowhere near the same. I think that's awesome. And the way the book ends, I think is really incredible, because I feel like it's like coming to like accept who you are and your kind of blend of the different things in life that influence you. I just, honestly, Robin Ha did an incredible job on this book, and I very much want to recommend it, especially to white people, because, like I said, it's going to make you uncomfortable in certain parts of this book, but that's really important, and it's just a generally good book overall. Now, this one I feel like I'm very extremely late to, and I feel like all the booktubers are going to be like, bestie, how have you not read this yet? I do have all 4 books of this, and I do intend to read the 5th one when it comes out, because that's going to be the last one. It's Heartstopper by Alice Oseman? Is that how you pronounce that? I hope it is. An absolutely delightful, sweet, romantic, kind, beautifully placed. I loved this book. Oh, Rainbow Rowell. God. Liked it. I haven't read any books by Rainbow Rowell, I don't think. Are they good? Should I do that? Anyway. Boy meets boy, boys become friends, boys fall in love. Shy and soft-hearted Charlie Spring sits next to rugby player Nick Nelson in class one morning. A warm and intimate friendship follows, and that soon develops into something more for Charlie, who doesn't think he has a chance. But Nick is struggling with feelings of his own, and the two grow closer and take on the ups and downs of high school. They become to understand the surprising and delightful way in which love works. $14.99 US. Oh, did I say how much Almost American Girl is? $12.99 US. Okay, anyway. I fucking love this book series. I have heard about this before, like briefly in passing, and I didn't think anything of it, but then I don't remember why, but I got one of these books for Christmas, and then I bought the other 2, and then I had to buy the 4th one as well. This is fucking incredible. It is, I think they're in high school, but it's Australia, so I don't understand how the grades work. But it's 2 like young high school boys. One of them is out and gay, and the other one is, you know, like a cute rugby player. I mean, am I gonna spoil it? Okay, spoiler alerts for Heartstopper if you have not read it. I'll spoil the first one and kind of the idea of the plot. These 2 end up dating, and it's fantastic. And not only is this book like, big gay, happy times, da-da-da, but these books, all 4 of them, the whole series, has a lot of good rep and conversations around really important topics. So like with the idea of, okay, first of all, can I just say, they have a queer friend group as the books go on. They have a queer friend group. Everybody in their fucking group is gay, queer, part of the community, which is fucking fantastic because you don't see a lot of that in media, I think. I think most people that write any queer characters are straight people, so they very much have the like token queer kid in a group of friends. No, everybody's queer in their friend group, which 10 out of 10, that's exactly how it should be because we flock together. My friend group has a token straight, okay? Like that's how it should be. So not only do they have a queer friend group, but it tackles very much the idea of coming out, how some young people especially feel like they have to come out, the conversations around whether or not you have to come out, how you're gonna have to come out to people, well, you don't have to, but the conversations about how you're gonna end up coming out to most of your life. It never seems to stop when you are a queer person and part of the community. It never seems to stop the whole idea of like coming out to people and telling people, you know, you're part of this community. It's the idea of you don't have to tell anybody if you don't want to, and if people ask questions, it's none of your fucking business as long as you and your partner are happy. It's heavily anxiety rep, it's depression rep, it's rep with some eating disorders and like just mental illness as a whole. It's the idea that you and your partner are not the only people in the world, especially when you're young and are like in that honeymoon phase kind of where like everything's perfect and the 2 of you are on cloud 9 and it's never gonna end and nothing bad is ever gonna happen. The idea of reaching out to your community, your friends, your families, your loved ones, and asking for help and knowing that no matter how much you love and care for your partner, you cannot fix them and you can't be the only one that solves all their problems. And again, I'm saying, I already said spoilers, and in this, is it the 2nd or 3rd book, they go on a trip to France, which I've talked about my French trip before in passing. I kind of want to make another video now about my French trip, other than just like the fucking fever dream nightmare life that it was. But there were some good points. And in their trip to France, it's... Is this Australia or is this England? I actually don't remember. I said Australia, but I feel like it's not. I think they take a bus when they go, so it might just be England. I'm sorry. Their France trip, there were a lot of elements in that book, the specific volume, I believe volume 3. Like I said, there's a lot of elements in that volume on their French trip where it was like kind of like looking in a mirror from when I went on my France trip. So it was just really cool and fun. I think Heartstopper is a very popular thing on BookTube. I could be wrong. I could be way out of the loop, but I think it is. I absolutely love it. 10 out of 10. And I really like that I had both, because I feel like male queer relationships are like the norm in society. Not the norm. I feel like it's more acceptable to have gay relationships shown when it's male identifying people or male aligning people than it is for, you know, feminine aligning people. I feel like it's much more accepted and much more like appropriate to all the conservative douchebags, and this is not, so I liked that I had one of each on this rec list. Hey, look at me. Is anything I'm saying making sense? I feel like I'm just like saying shit and hoping anything sounds good to you guys. The next book that I have, and it goes back to supernatural elements, and is the very last book that I have, unfortunately. It is Are You Listening by Tilly Walden. It is $18.99 US, and it's a thick one. Bee is on the run, and then she runs into Lou. This chance encounter sends him on a journey through West Texas where strange things start to happen. A lost cat becomes a kindred spirit, the weather shifts from sun to snow within minutes, and they're followed by mysterious men from the Office of Road Inquiry. The landscape morphs into an unsettling world as they drive on toward a town that doesn't exist on a map or at all, where they have no one left but each other. This beautifully haunting story of friendship, loss, heartbreak, and a traumatic revelation about sexual assault accumulates into an exquisite example of human connection. This was kind of wild, because at first, as I'm like reading through the beginning of the book, I was so fucking lost, but by the time I got to the end, I got it. Or I think I got it, I should say. I got my interpretation of it. And the way the book ends was, in my opinion, very dissatisfying, but I think that was on purpose. Just because you want more doesn't mean you're gonna get more. And I think that was the like point of how this book ended. This has heavy supernatural elements in a way that confuses you. And I personally I'm not usually a fan of that. If there are gonna be supernatural elements, I like an eventual explanation. There is not one. But this is incredible, and the relationship between these two characters, Bee is a younger queer individual and Lou is an older queer individual. So I like very much the friendship element of it, and I like how they've bonded, and I like how they kind of came to really care and protect each other, because I feel like my age about, because I am 26, there are not a lot of queer elders for me. But for younger queer people, I am a queer elder. And that is about the age difference, especially like on TikTok where I've collaborated with other creators. Most of the audience on TikTok is young. Our young people are Gen Zs. And like I said, I've collaborated with some people on TikTok. Like we've made videos together for like character stories. Very much feels like this relationship, because we're not like super close. My mutuals on TikTok, I love you guys, but we're not super close, which is, I feel, appropriate. But the idea of like an older queer person in their 20s and a younger queer person in their mid to late teens, that is the relationship that a lot of people find themselves in, especially this time on the internet, because not me specifically, but like my age group, there are more queer elders in my age group than there are queer elders for my age group. Does that make sense? Like, I don't have a lot of queer elders because of the AIDS epidemic. Gen Z has a lot of queer elders because we are the millennials and I guess late Gen Xers. Is that how that works? My point is that the friendship and the relationship is incredible. And also, this is not a spoiler because it specifically says a traumatic revelation about sexual assault. If somebody who knows more about media literacy than I do, if you could weigh in on this, because I'm very curious and this is something I really like. I have found in graphic novels, like traditional books, in movies and TV shows, anytime, most of the time, where there is conversation about sexual assault and sexual trauma, it happens in or around like pools, not outdoor pools, usually in like public pools or like high school pools that you go to. Because there's another book that I'm thinking of where somebody talks about being assaulted by a boyfriend of theirs, and it's when a bunch of people sneak into like a YMCA and go to the pool. Is that a legitimate thing in media literacy, and is that something that like has a reason behind it? Because if so, I am fascinated and I very much want to know about that. Because something like that happens in here. There's a conversation about sexual assault that happens in a pool area. And I really want to know if that's like a common thing, if that's something I'm missing. Because like I said, I think that's fascinating, and I'm really interested to know why it seems to always be that setting. But also, 10 out of 10 on this book. Back to the supernatural elements of it. The supernatural elements of this are genuinely incredible. Okay, sorry about that. The angle might be a little different. My camera stopped recording, so that's super fun because I keep talking and I don't know when to shut up. Anyway, as I was saying, the supernatural elements of this book are incredible, even though I said earlier in this particular conversation about this book that they don't really make sense, and I personally like a supernatural element that like later has an explanation or makes sense, has some kind of like rule book to it, and there doesn't seem to be in this book. There's no really elaboration on it, which I like because I also like that, and I like it. It's very two like extremes. I like it in the sense of it feels very like unhinged, which supernatural elements I feel like should be in some forms of media. So, and the specific like color palettes used for those moments of like interacting with the supernatural, the color palette, the character design, and the art style are very reminiscent to me of the second Little Nightmares game where it's taking place in the city. I've watched a couple playthroughs of that game, so it immediately reminded me of that, and like the tall man with the hat. Very much reminiscent of that. So I really, really liked that. So yeah, those were my graphic novel recs. And I personally, if you have been struggling with like reading like physical books and you feel bad because you keep buying books and you're like, oh, but it's like just a waste. First of all, it's not a waste. Books are never a waste. I'm the daughter of a librarian. I'll tell you right now, getting a book is never a waste, even if you don't read it. But I personally found, like, this isn't going to work for everybody, but I personally found that getting some graphic novels and maybe getting some manga, if there's any that you're personally interested in, because I have been doing that lately. I've been buying mangas that I used to read and like new ones because of the element of like, I guess like a picture book element of it. I have found it very encouraging and makes me like want to read more and more, because while the artwork and everything in these books are like absolutely incredible, there are some times where it's just a page of like a picture, which is totally fine. That's the point of a graphic novel. So you're seeing artwork and like traditional literature together. But sometimes it's like, oh, that whole art page could have been more to the story in the like way of the writing of it. So then it makes me excited to read some of my own books. I have a list of like books and like the order I want to read them in, because I have a couple books that seem to be, from reading like the descriptions of them, are going to be very similar to The Girl from the Sea, where it's like a queer, feminine presenting like characters and ocean kind of involvement. I think there's a lot of books out there right now that have that same theme, and I'm really into it, so I'm very excited. And these books have made me excited to like start reading physical books again. I'm still on Percy Jackson. I've only read up to the Titan's Curse. Don't come for me. I will make another video when I finish Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I will. And I will be reading the Heroes of Olympus because I have those books. I don't know if I'll necessarily make a video about that. I'm still on Percy Jackson. Please don't at me. But yeah, I just wanted to give some of my graphic novel recs, and I will also be making a video next week similar to this, where it's kind of like about BookTube and like reviewing books and everything, but it's not going to be any specific stories. So please leave a like if you're excited about that. Again, if anybody can help me find a comprehensive link to help the citizens of Ukraine, that would be incredibly helpful. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye! The immediate panic I had, like, I wish it was still recording because you should have seen the fear in my eyes when the camera just shut off.